UBI. Screaming that from the mountaintop for the past year and a half, 2 years.
2 years.
They even have a cartoon on Fox called Universal Basic Guy. Why do you think that is? They're getting everybody prepared to be on universal basic income. They were paying these guys in the cartoon, they were paying these guys because they lost their job to automation, AI.
Wait, that was in the show?
That's in the show.
No.
They lose their job to automation. They get a check from the government and it's all about them just sitting on their ass and getting into adventures.
All we have to do is just watch the shows.
TVs, movies, cartoons, it's always there. They do it, they tell you before they do it.
Literally.
Why did Fox roll out that cartoon and now they're talking about UBI? Now they're doing stimulus checks? Now they're doing, because even Elon's talking about not universal basic income, but it's universal high income, which is just another fancy word for UBI.
What do you mean universal high income?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, so you just, okay.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Like, oh, we're gonna pay you more to do X, Y, and Z, or just be dependent on us, and that's it. Because universal basic income sounds basic. So let's change the word. Universal high income. Oh, that sounds better. They always changing these words. Same thing they do with Agenda 2030.
Talk about it.
Agenda 2030 used to be Agenda 21. For that, it was the plan for sustainability. They keep changing these words, but it's the same thing. Same playbook, different cover. They're doing the same thing again. Pretty interesting. And with AI, within the next 5 years, the number keeps changing, but they project now, within 5 years, is gonna affect over 200 million jobs.
America is standing at a crossroads. The cost of living continues to rise faster than wages. Automation is reshaping entire industries. Millions of people are working longer hours, yet financial security feels further out of reach. Amid this uncertainty, one idea keeps returning to the national conversation: universal basic income. But is it a genuine solution or a risky experiment?
The Senate is proposing a bill that would force the government to create a framework, and it would grant every Canadian who's 17 years or older a livable income. Again, that hasn't been defined.
The parliamentary budget officer thinks that it could reduce poverty by up to 49%, possibly in the short term. However, the program is going to cost around $93 billion annually. Essentially, a UBI in Canada would be extremely inflationary. It would not address the problem.
I hear people saying, okay, it's a good way to streamline the programs, because right now we have welfare, we have government assistance for food, for housing, we have child benefits, we have employment insurance. All these programs would be streamlined and replaced with that UBI, that universal basic income. Isn't that perhaps a good thing?
I don't believe so. What happens when the cost of living is $150,000 a year? It's just nominal currency that they're handing out. And sure, maybe you could streamline those programs into one centralized basic income, right? But are they even going to cut all those programs?
My issue is more on a macroeconomic level. If you give everyone money, now nobody has money, because that money will not buy the same amount that it could before. It's inflationary. If you give everyone $1,000, now the shopkeeper is not going to keep his apple at $2. It's going to go up in price. That's, from my perspective, the macro side of things, why it would be bad. But on the logistical, administrative side, I think that's a beautiful thing. And maybe there's a way to streamline all the programs without having to give UBI to everyone. And we're not even talking about psychological effect of effectively killing productivity through motivation. If all your basic needs are taken, why the fuck would you get out of your house? Why would you go study? Why would you go work? Why would you build a business? All your needs are met.
Universal basic income, often called UBI, is simple in concept. Every adult receives a guaranteed monthly payment. There are no work requirements, no income limits, and no conditions. The goal is to create a basic financial floor that ensures survival in an unpredictable economy. Supporters argue that UBI is not about replacing work, but about protecting people as the nature of work changes.
Kittens, you will only get it if you're a good little boy or girl. If you buck the system and challenge the system and talk about the unfairness and the injustice of the system, well, there's your guaranteed income gone.
And digital ID is linked to your social media behavior.
Exactly. If people could only see the incremental way, and getting faster and faster, that this is being brought in. And so the guaranteed income is not meant to be massive, gives you all this choice. it's meant to be a pittance that you just about survive on. Because what they'll say is, because they're nice people, you know, AI's taking all these jobs, and we've got to do something to help people because we care. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you this universal basic income, and then you put food on the table. But anything that you depend upon controls you. If you're dependent on the state controls you. If you're dependent on somebody, that somebody controls you. And so a universal basic income, along with the digital currency, the digital ID, the connection of the human brain to artificial intelligence, is a monumental, interconnected control system, like I say, the like of which we have never seen in known human history.
Advocates believe UBI restores dignity and choice. With basic needs covered, people may feel empowered to pursue education, start businesses, care for family members, or leave unsafe or exploitative jobs. In pilot programs across the world, recipients often report lower stress, improved mental health, and greater stability. Contrary to common fears, many participants didn't stop working. Instead, they used the financial cushion to make better long-term decisions. UBI is also seen as a response to automation. As artificial intelligence and robotics replace traditional jobs, UBI could help soften economic disruption and prevent widespread instability.
The exact place, but it will be public in a few months. There's already a couple small nation states that are actually planning to deploy UBI, Universal Basic Income programs, where before they tried to do it a few times with cash and things like that. It's always a disaster. And now they're switching to every user gets a wallet with a phone number, and they all get sent money every day directly in stablecoins. They see this as the final, like the only practical way to actually get these programs to run. And basically, we're going to start seeing countries run fully in stablecoins. It's the small countries first, but this is already coming online within the next 12 months. So I'm super excited about that one. The countries are not public yet, but in a year, check and you'll see we're going to run fantastic experiments, and I think these countries are going to go very well.
Critics raise significant concerns. The first question is cost. Providing even a modest basic income to every adult would require trillions of dollars each year. That raises questions about taxation, government spending, and inflation. Some economists warn that flooding the economy with cash could drive prices higher, especially for housing, healthcare, and education, effectively erasing the benefit. Others argue UBI addresses symptoms, not root causes. Without fixing wage stagnation, corporate consolidation, and rising living costs, UBI could end up subsidizing broken systems rather than repairing them.
And ultimately, working will be optional because you'll have robots plus AI, and we'll have, in a benign scenario, universal high income, not just universal basic income, universal high income, meaning anyone can have any products or services that they want.
So
but there will be a lot of trauma and disruption along the way.
So you anticipate a basic income from that the economy will boost to such an extent that a high income would be available to almost everybody. So we'd essentially eliminate poverty.
In the benign scenario, yes. So like the way
there's multiple scenarios.
There are multiple scenarios. There's a lot of ways this movie can end. Like the reason I'm so concerned about AI safety is that like one of the possibilities is the Terminator scenario. It's not 0%. So that's why it's like I'm like really banging the drum on AI needs to be maximally truth seeking. Like don't force AI to believe a lie.
Beyond economics, UBI raises philosophical questions. Does guaranteeing income increase freedom or reduce motivation? Supporters argue that people thrive when survival is secure. Critics believe purpose and social cohesion are closely tied to work and contribution. At its core, UBI forces society to confront what people are entitled to simply by being alive.
Negative income tax is a proposal to help poor people by giving them money, which is what they need, rather than as now, by requiring them to come before a governmental official, detail all their assets and their liabilities, and be told that you may spend X dollars on rent, Y dollars on food, etc., and then be given a handout. The idea of the negative income tax is to treat people who are poor in the same way as we treat people who are rich. The virtue of an income tax arrangement is precisely that it treats everybody the same way. There's none of this unfortunate discrimination among people. You have a system which stimulates abuse. It seems to me, experience suggests that our present welfare programs are clearly very much subject to this danger. Look at what's been happening. In a period of unprecedented prosperity and affluence, the number of people on the welfare rolls has been skyrocketing. Why? Because once they get on, we make it almost impossible for them to get off. In order for somebody who gets on to get off, he or she has to be able to have a really good job, because to earn a little bit, get off gradually, now doesn't pay. Under a negative income tax, you would have people, give the poor people, a possibility of getting off gradually. For a great large fraction of the people who are being helped, they have every incentive to do it themselves. If we give them the money, we will strengthen their responsibility.
Universal basic income may not be a perfect solution, but it reflects a deeper truth. The current economic model is under strain. Whether through UBI or other reforms, change is coming. The real question isn't just how to distribute money, but how to build an economy where survival isn't a constant struggle and opportunity isn't limited to the few. The choices made now won't just shape policy. They'll shape the future of work, dignity, and human potential.